to use as the parents of the prince. And so she sings the Magnificat. My soul magnifies Yahweh, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servant. He has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. These are strange words coming from the mouth of Mary. These are strong lyrics coming from the song of the mother of Jesus. Is there something going on here that we don't know about? I mean, why bring up the rich? Why bring up the powerful? Mary, why don't you just talk about yourself, but don't bring other people into it? Strange words. Did something happen to Mary as she was growing up? I mean, was there a rich person who was scoffing at her shoes that were secondhand? Having to go without while those around her had their fill? A peasant girl wishing upon a star for wealth would be the one who would deliver under the star the treasure. But Mary would not receive the world's wealth, would she? Walter Brueggemann writes, the prophet Micah, that we read just a minute ago, sings and hopes for little Bethlehem, that tiny village located in the small clan territory of Ephrathah, a vulnerable territory exposed to army after army coming in. But that village, says Micah, will live secure in time to come. Why? Because a new ruler shepherd will feed, guard, protect, and sustain them. Who is this ruler? Who is this shepherd coming from Bethlehem? You see, the Bible is relentless in its conviction that God will side with the little. The world must have told Micah and then Mary about this absurd hope that they have. Why believe like that? But Mary, trusting the angel, believes that nothing will be impossible with God. Luke 1:37. And so she sings. She sings about the hungry, the ones cut out of the food chain, denied access to the granaries. She sings. Mary knew what Micah knew, what Israel always knew, and what the church today knows in Advent. And this is what we know. The weak and vulnerable will be lifted up. The poetry and the song invite us to move out beyond. Now you have two voices going on in your head. You got your world's voice and you've got God's word. And that's what makes life so challenging. You hear Madison Avenue telling us these things at Christmas. And then we hear this totally opposite story for a peasant girl, that she would become the mother of Messiah. So out of faith, Mary sings. Just like Jonah in the belly of depression of the whale, they offer this strange song, a song of thankfulness out of fear. Mary had something within her that seemed to change her outlook. Well, sure enough, she did have something within her that would change her forever. A song of hope, of promise, of trust in Yahweh, El Shaddai, Adonai. She would be gifted with a greater richness, a richness of spirit, of humility and honor and blessedness that Elizabeth talks about. I love the fact that as these two pregnant women are hugging, all of a sudden, whoop, John the Baptist kicks. Whoop. And she says, whoa, something happened within me. This must be big. Because the one within me jumping and moving. Now, I like what Elizabeth says. She calls Mary, she says, you are the mother of my Lord. And that's kind of hard to do. I mean, here she's older, and you got this little pregnant girl coming up, and all of a sudden, you'd think that Elizabeth would be the one that would get Jesus. You might think she might be a little jealous. But she's not, is she? She gives all this blessing. She pours it out on Mary. She says, you are the one. You are the one who has been chosen. And we see throughout John the Baptist's life, he's just a forerunner. And John the Baptist's mother is just a forerunner for Mary and Jesus. It's a beautiful setting. Beautiful scene. As two pregnant women. The word in Greek, the word for greeting that we read 3 times in our story is the word embrace. So there is a sense of touch that's taking place, womb to womb. And coming back to what I'm talking about today in worship, intimacy. But the one within reaches out to the one within. And there is a leap of joy. Perhaps, just perhaps, it is today this annual reminder that God's incarnation topples those on top. Now, that's all well and good if you're on the bottom. Touche. But I haven't heard a whole lot of sermons for people who are at the top of the game. And we read this text, and all of a sudden, Jesus becomes a threat. And that's kind of where I am this year. Because I think our church, in a way, is at the top of their game. We are doing really well. I think people here are really excelling in what we are all about. I'm looking around at you in the midst of a recession, and I'm seeing you focusing on what is important. And as your pastor, I commend you for that. I think it's easy to receive this gospel when you are abused and when you are manipulated and when you are humiliated like Mary was. And Mary says in her song that the rich will go away empty. And then I began to think, and this is kind of where I am. I haven't figured it all out yet. Okay, you're kind of listening in on some self-talk here, but is that what Christmas is? Is Christmas just about topsy-turvy, flipping the chart so that the bottom will rise to the top? Because everything I've ever seen is that whenever a nation is taken over by the oppressed, what happens? They become the oppressor, right? It's just a natural tendency. That those on the bottom, once they do rise to the top, all of a sudden, all that power and control, they begin to pour it out on those underneath them. So what really is this song of Mary? Because part of me likes this song. My soul magnifies the Lord. I say, yes, I like that. Yes, that's what I want. I want that. I want my soul to bubble over this Christmas. But then it also goes on to say something about the rich and the powerful. And I'm sorry everybody in this room is very rich. We're all rich. Went to Caracas this year, this great big highway, and I looked up on the hill and I saw